D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick 1025. The game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingen, and David Janes here with you. Derek, myself, and David Janes are back in our, well, we're not, we are back because we just took off the weekend. But we are
Yes.
broadcasting from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick is in St. Louis, where the Predators will take on the Blues tonight. Puck drop at 7, pregame at 6, right here on 1025 the game. And it's almost Christmas. Next week is Christmas, guys, and we are
Man.
in a giving mood. I know, right? We are in a giving mood all week long on this program. We will be giving away 5 pairs of tickets to the Liberty Mutual Music City Bowl on Tuesday, December 30th, the Tennessee Volunteers versus the Illinois Fighting Illini at Nissan Stadium. 1 pair per day. So if you want a pair of tickets to see the Music City Bowl later this month, be listening each and every day, and I'll even drop a hint. We will be giving away the first pair today in this hour. So sometime between now and the top of the hour, we will be giving away a pair of Music City Bowl tickets. So be listening. Teron Davenport, ESPN, NFL Nation Titans reporter, will join us at 3:40. But Willie, Derek, you two are of a certain age, which is a
Yes.
nice way of saying you guys are a little bit older than I am. You guys are familiar with the show, The Facts of Life, right?
Absolutely. Take
Willie?
the good to take the
One of my
bad.
faves. One of my faves.
Well, Derek just sort of spoiled it for me. If you like that show, you remember the famous theme song. You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have The Facts of Life. And for some reason, that is what I was thinking as I was watching Cam Ward against the San Francisco 49ers yesterday. By the way, the Titans lost 37-24 to those 49ers in Santa Clara, California. But you take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts of life of Cam Ward's rookie season with the Tennessee Titans. And I think, Derek, yesterday was yet another example of taking the good and taking the bad. We saw some outstanding plays from Cam Ward. You think of the scramble drill that he executed to find Jeffrey Simmons, of all people, in the end zone for a touchdown. The pass to Gunnar Helm, deep pass for a touchdown. Really nice throw from Cam Ward. And yet, he still had some struggles, threw some balls right to 49ers defensive backs who dropped potential interceptions. The numbers weren't great. They weren't eye-popping, I should say. 18 of 29 for 170 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Or no interceptions, excuse me. 0 interceptions. 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So then again, as I said, Derek, you take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have life with Cam Ward. Let's start with the quarterback. How would you evaluate his performance yesterday?
I mean, it was inconsistent. It was again rookie play. You know, he had some good. He had some throws that he wanted back. He had some drops. But all in all, I think you watch a guy, and how I watch him. I'm not talking about how everyone else claims to watch him or what they're looking for. I'm basing it on what I've seen through my years in this league, watching Cam, the quarterbacks that came before Cam, and just watching, him throughout each game. And he's not the quarterback he was the first game of the season. I think he's a much better quarterback than that. But again, as I've always said, he has a long way to go. And I'm not going to sit here because I didn't do it with Levis either. I wanted to see that second season. I wanted to see how he came back off of having a full off season of just concentrating on being an NFL quarterback. And he came back and it looked the same. So the Titans chose, to go another route. Cam, I see some things that he needs to improve on. We talked about this last week, Adam, as well as Willie. The deep throws to the left side of the field. For some reason, he has been off to that side of the field, and it showed its head once again. That's something that he's going to have to like intently work on. Passes down the field, those chunk plays that only come so many times during the game. And if you don't take advantage of them, it makes the intermediate to short game a lot tougher because no one is expecting or no one thinks that you're going to throw it down the field or respect you completing the pass. That's what I was looking for. Respect you throwing the ball down the field. Why? Because you haven't completed anything down the field to that side of the field. So listen, he had his good, he had his bad. He could have been better. I thought some of his players let him down as well, but I thought the coaching staff at times let him down. But I think each week he shows you that, listen, if you surround me with people again, he's throwing to rookies. He's throwing to all rookies except Van Jefferson. And then the rookie, they all switch. One guy's in, one guy's out, one guy's hurt. They, bring another guy up from practice squad. So he's never had in this season 5 or 4 consistent pass catchers. Okay. And because of that, I think it throws him off some, but yet and still, this is the NFL, and eventually you got to make those throws, and I understand that. But I'm not going to sit here and, make my determination on whether Cam is a good quarterback or a bad quarterback based upon this season, because he has a lot going against him. And I mean a lot. Again, just look at that roster. The one bright spot in all of this is the running game and what the offensive line has been able to do the last 2 weeks against very good defense.
Yeah, where did that come from?
Yeah. So that's the bright spot in all of this. But everything else has remained the same. His main guys are rookie guys that he's dependent on.
Willie, this is completely anecdotal, but I feel like almost every game I've watched the Titans play this season, there is at least one throw that Cam Ward misses that the color analyst immediately says, "Oh, you got to make that throw."
Mm-hmm.
And you had that yesterday with that deep pass to Van Jefferson near the end of the first half. What was your evaluation, Willie, of Cam Ward's performance yesterday?
I agree with that assessment, and I hear what the announcers are saying. And I think there's an addition to that where there's 1 or 2 opportunities missed that are completely on Cam. There, another theme, and this is nothing new that we talk about every week, the 2 or 3 passes that are heaters, that are not perfect throws, but catchable throws, and you're asking yourself, would a better receiver have come up with that? So you have that as well as you try to put all of these numbers in context. I would say this about yesterday, and I do think this happened in the Seahawks game as well. The Titans were clearly beaten. San Francisco had control of the game. Some of Cam's production that contribute to a 101.2 passer rating, which is good, is, I think, downgraded a little bit, because when you're behind, and it's better than not putting up any numbers at all. So, you take the good with the bad. But when you're playing catch up, you should be able to play against looser defenses that you can do some things against. And so I think the QBR is something to look at as well. It's only 37.9, which is better than his season average. But the 37.9, I think, takes into account that a lot of what he did came after they were playing catch up. So it's a step forward. These are all little things. I still am optimistic that he can be good. But the more you watch, the more I think the one thing that I'm most concerned is the ceiling is a little lower than I hoped it would be when we started the year. I think that's what we've learned. And look, I could be completely wrong. He could make a huge jump down the road once they get him, that D. Mace keeps talking about, get him the supportive pieces. Maybe he'll take a leap. But I think he's going to be good. I don't know how great he's going to be.
I don't think the ceiling has lowered. I don't think we know what the ceiling is, because you're asking him to go out there and make chicken soup out of you know what. And that's basically what it is. The bright spot, again, is the last 2 weeks. The offensive line has looked better from a run blocking standpoint. And they've looked okay pass blocking. Udo did a good job, I thought, this past weekend versus the San Francisco 49ers. But I don't know what this kid's ceiling is. I really don't, because 1 minute, you know, he you see him throw that pass, or you see him make that pass that you think, man, that's an NFL pass. But then other times, another man, he misses a pass like that. Then it's another where he makes the pass and the receiver drops it. Then it's another, he's scrambling and nobody's getting open. And then it's another where the offensive line. So to me, I don't know what this kid's ceiling is. And honestly, I think at this point, nobody knows. Just like nobody knew what Will Levis's ceiling was. They hoped that he would come back and play a lot better, but they didn't know exactly what that ceiling was. They found out the next season how low it was. It's the same with Cam. I don't know where this kid's ceiling is. I don't know what he will end up being. And I know people want to dump on him because they want to have that hot take, and they want to they hope that they're right at the end of the day. But I'm gonna tell you this: a guy that's played in this league for 15 years. After first year, you ain't gonna know. We saw C.J. Stroud the next following year take 2 steps back. We saw Bryce Young start off slow, very slow, and they were questioning him, and now he's playing much better. Jaden Daniels the same way. He wasn't playing great before he got injured. So nobody knows what this young man's ceiling's going to be. Is he playing like a number 1 pick in the draft? No, he's not. And I would admit that all day, every day until it changed. But I also got to understand and recognize that the talent around him isn't where it needs to be for a first-year quarterback. I understand why the Titans had to draft him, but you're putting him in a position that everybody knew coming into the season. That's the part that I really don't understand. Everybody knew this before the season got here, what the talent was going to look like and how it would affect him. But yet and still, when we get in the season, it's like, oh, he's not good. Like, come on, give me a damn break with that, okay? Seriously. It's becoming people wanting to talk just to talk. They watch Cam every week, and they're looking for a reason to doubt this young man. Listen, if he doesn't make it, he doesn't make it. It's no sweat off my back whatsoever. Maybe it give us something else to talk about. I don't know. But I don't know where this kid's ceiling is because he doesn't have the talent around him that he needs. They know it, the Titans. That's why they haven't said anything. We should know it because we've been watching it the last 3 years. So anybody that would have stepped in this position, they would have had trouble. Any quarterback they would have drafted, Jackson Dart, I don't care who they would have drafted this past year. That guy would have had trouble. Maybe they should have went in and got a proven veteran guy to at least start. Now we can have that conversation. Maybe they should have brought in a veteran guy, not the guy they got now, because we know that he ain't gonna win no games. Maybe they should have brought a veteran guy in here and allowed this young man to sort of sit for a minute. We can have that discussion because at first I was like, listen, he needs to play, and rightfully so. But I'm not too proud or too arrogant to think, man, maybe they should have just waited and sat him for a little while. Maybe that would have helped him a little bit. I can do that. So if everybody want to have that conversation, we can have it. But the conversation of him not being the guy, that's not a conversation we can have now because this season, you will never get the full effect of what Cam can be because the people around him are young, inexperienced, and they don't have that much talent.
Here's the issue, and I've made this point before. The problem for Cam Ward this season, and actually, before I get to my point, let me read to you something that Nick Suss wrote in the Tennessean that makes my point. Quote, the 49ers game marked the 8th time in 14 games that Ward didn't even get to 200 passing yards. It also marked his first game with a passer rating north of 100. Will Levis had 5 of those with the Titans. Jake Locker had 6. Ward is officially tied with guys like Zach Mettenberger, Alex Tanney, Blaine Gabbert, and Mason Rudolph. Those are hardly the names you want your number 1 pick to be sharing company with late in the season, end quote. I said this last week, Derek and Willie, as we were discussing Cam Ward's performance against Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns. Cam Ward has not had a game like Shedeur Sanders had against the Titans
Shedeur
last week.
Sanders was going against the worst secondary. Have y'all seen that second?
Hold on.
Don't
I hear you.
Oh
Did you
my
see?
goodness.
Did you see Shedeur Sanders yesterday?
He was going against a much better secondary.
Yes, he struggled against the Bears. I'm not trying to
No.
any scabs here.
I get what
my
you're saying.
point is this: Cam Ward has been hurt by the fact that he has not had a Shedeur Sanders-like game. I understand what you're saying, Derek. We've gone through the caliber of defenses that Cam Ward has faced this season. Some of the top defenses, many of the top defenses in the NFL. The problem for people watching Cam Ward this season is he has plays in every game that make you go, whoa. Like, he actually had a great play yesterday that Chim DK dropped. Ward scrambled out, evaded multiple defenders right against the sideline, threw a dart to DK. DK dropped it. That was a cool play. The touchdown pass to Simmons, the touchdown pass to Helm. He makes plays like that at least once in every game, most games, maybe not every game, but most games. The problem is, as that stat from Nick Suss just said, 8 of 14 games, he didn't even reach 200 yards. He hasn't had the 70% completion, 325-yard, 3 touchdown, 0 interception performance. And until I'm convinced, guys, and Willie, you tell me if I'm wrong, until he has one of those games, people are going to continue to doubt Cam Ward. People will probably still continue to doubt Cam Ward, even if he has one of those games. But the fact that he hasn't had one of those games is really hurting his evaluation for a lot of people.
It would not. I don't get me wrong. It would be nice for him to flash that. I understand what D Mace is saying. It's not an end all be all. It's really, what does he look like next year at this point? But so I'm willing to take the baby steps. But I think you're right, Adam, in the perception. The perception, people are going to look at the numbers, and the numbers are at the bottom, and so there will be a lot of questions. But I do think just because the numbers are low doesn't mean he can't make a jump. And I think that's the point that D Mace is throwing out there. And he is going to face, he's going to face a demoralized Chiefs team that is in unfamiliar territory. I wonder what that will look like. The Chiefs just, they're done. When's the last time they've been done this far into the season? And they're playing without Patrick Mahomes?
More than a decade ago, at least. Or at least a decade ago.
They could catch them at the right time. He could have that game against them. He's got a game against the Saints. Maybe that's a game. I don't know. It would be nice to see, but I'm not going to panic if he doesn't.
615-737-1025. Your thoughts on the Titans' loss 37-24 to the 49ers. Cam Ward, 18 of 29 for 170 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. It might be time for another Cam Ward vibe check. We haven't done that in a few weeks. 615-737-1025. We see your calls. We'll get to them next. But in the meantime, Mondays were made for Macero. Big screens, bold flavors, and all the football action from Queso to kickoffs. This is how Macero does game night. Macero Football Mondays in 12th South. Don't miss a snap.
All right, let's tell you about F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. We have had some fun with our Take It to the Bank segment, as we always do. That's every Friday at 5:45. Let me tell you about F&M Bank. As you're looking ahead to 2026, and if you want to turn over a new leaf or just sharpen things up financially, and you want to build a good, solid relationship, a simple relationship with your banker, F&M Bank is for you. Find the nearest location to you, myfmbank.com. They want to take some of the burden off your shoulders. They want you to know that they're going to be there for you. They want to get you a contact and equip you with the tools to make your financial life easier. There's a lot of things they can do, whether you're just managing your family's household or you're a business owner. They have great programs with business-to-business loans, HELOCs, all of that stuff. myfmbank.com. There are 20 locations. Chances are there's one right in your backyard. So go to that website and start that relationship. It's Take It to the Bank. every Friday at 5:45. Brought to you by F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
Just overthrew it. Try to put it too much outside his shoulder. Then instead of just throwing him upfield. I mean, I had to look at the film and see. But at the end of the day, I just gotta put in at least his vicinity for him to make a play.
That was Cam Ward on his missed connection with Van Jefferson late in the second quarter. That could have set up a scoring opportunity for the Tennessee Titans. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Tomorrow between noon and 3, Chase and Big Joe will have your chance to win a $100 Moments Peace Salon and Day Spa gift card, and you can also qualify to win a $1,000 Genesis Diamonds gift card for the 12 days of Christmas here on 102.5 The Game. Of course, we are talking Cam Ward's performance, 18 of 29, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, the 8th time in 14 games that Ward didn't even get to 200 passing yards. The first game this season, he had a passer rating north of 100. We'll take your thoughts. 615-737-1025. Let's go to our friend Trey on our phone line. Trey, thank you for waiting. Please go ahead.
Hey, how y'all doing today?
Good.
Hey.
Hey, I just wanted to say that me personally, I know Derek feels very, very strongly about, giving Cam a shot. I honestly do too. I really, really do. But from the time that he come here, you had the upper echelon of the organization saying that he can make all the throws. He's he'll go, he'll run, and he can do this and he can do this. And you had these people that make millions and millions of dollars that make these very crucial decisions saying that he can do these things. And he has not produced that. I feel like that the wide receivers the ball hasn't gotten there more than they've dropped. Yeah, there's been some drops and there's been some bad ones, but I feel like that, he don't have, the touch on the ball, and then TD and them got to ask him why the ball coming out this way and that way. That means he don't have the skill to get the ball the right way. That's all it is. He need to work on his skill set and stop trying to, explain why the ball isn't coming the way that it's supposed to come. Who does that? Like, don't explain it. Just go out there and do it. You've had a complete team. On paper, you had a complete team. You had Kevin Ridley, Snead, you had everybody that you wanted. Now, you don't have them, and you're still not producing. You're still not producing any wins. Any wins. One was gifted to you. You won another one. It's been, 18 games. I was told to shut up, Trey. Shut up, Trey. It's only been 10 games. Now it's been 15, 16. Now what? I'm going to give him a chance, but it's looking very, very, very bad. And I love y'all to death. And don't take my words out of context or the wrong way, but I feel like he needs to progress right now. He got 3 games. He needs to progress right now, 2 games, whatever. He needs to do what he needs to do right now. And y'all have a good day. Thank you. I love y'all.
We love you too, Trey. We love you too. We appreciate your passion, Trey. That's why we love taking your calls. Look, as Trey just said, he's got 3 games. He's got the eliminated from playoff contention Chiefs, which has not happened in a decade. He's got the Saints, who are winning all of a sudden. Yikes for the Saints fan in attendance here. And they've got the Jaguars. So a mixed bag of opponents. Barring Cam Ward having the type of game we were just discussing, Willie, the eye-popping numbers type of game, the 350 passing yards, completing 65 to 70% of the passes, 3 or 4 passing touchdowns. Without one of those games, I think the season is going to end with everybody in the corner they're in right now. If you are in the Cam stinks, the Titans made a terrible mistake by drafting him number 1 overall, you're going to be in that corner. If you are in the Cam Ward, he needs more time. He has a bad team around him. They need to build up the roster. It's much less Cam's fault than his environment. You're going to be in that corner. It's going to take, Willie, one of those performances I was just describing, the Shedeur Sanders-like performance from last week, to, I think, even give people heading into the offseason the notion that they can think differently.
I'm going to be a little more nuanced with what I'm looking for from the numbers, because as D-Mace pointed out, yeah, Shedeur Sanders had numbers against the Titans, but A, it's against the Titans, a bad defense, and B, it was a losing performance. They were behind. He got to throw a lot. They had to throw. So Yeah, he threw some great throws in that game. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away from his performance. He was good. But your numbers are going to look better when your team is behind and the other team is playing the scoreboard. They're playing looser. They're going to give you some stuff. I want to see more efficiency throughout the game. I'm looking for growth that way. I'd like to see some of the underlying numbers come up. That's what troubles me more than just show me a score sheet where he's got 250 or 300 yards passing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you can play really well in the context of game if you throw for 170, right? So you don't need to throw for any more than that. If you throw for the right 170, or if your defense plays well, you see, like, it doesn't have to be fantasy stats. It's efficiency, and he's low in efficiency.
I completely agree with you, Willie. You know that I love those fantasy stats just as much as you do. But to the casual / general fan who doesn't pay as much attention to those things, the efficiency numbers versus just the counting stats, the passing yards, the touchdowns, the fantasy stats, my point is, it's probably going to take one of those types of performances from Cam Ward to get somebody on the Cam Stink side of the aisle to even consider changing their mind. I agree with your premise, Willie. My point is, not everybody digs into the numbers the way that we do. They need to see the eye test. They need to see the wow plays. They need to see
As
those
we find out,
sorts of
Heisman
things.
voters don't dig into the numbers on Saturday.
We will get to Diego Pavia. There is a lot to get to on Diego Pavia. Let's go to our friend Mark from Nashville on our phone line. Mark, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hey, how y'all doing, Willie, D-Mace, Willie? How y'all doing, man?
You said Willie twice.
You forgot
You
Adam.
said Willie twice.
Adam, I'm sorry, Adam, D-Mace,
Oh, I
Willie,
thought there
how
was a
y'all
shot
doing?
in there.
Hey, do y'all ever notice Uncle D-Mace always gets on me? D-Mace, I'm sorry. I forgot. My fault. I got you. Hey, look, let's just go on and cut Cam right now. Let's just cut him. I mean, because nobody's satisfied. I'm on the bandwagon with D-Mace. Give this man some time. He doesn't have the playmakers. Don't people get that? Trey, don't you get that? He doesn't have the playmakers. How many balls did Ridley, Jefferson, and all those guys drop in all those earlier games? You didn't say nothing about that. But you want to talk about the progression of Cam? I think he is progressing. I think next year he'll become a good quarterback. You're going to have to hire somebody to bring him in, a good quarterback coach, a good offensive coordinator, design an offense for Cam. But he's got to have playmakers. That team does not have playmakers. They continue to drop passes. They continue a lot of times to be out of position on their routes. So quit blaming Cam for this, that, and the other. He's played against way more defensive elite teams than Shador had. And like y'all said, Shador had to play mop up type football and put up numbers like Willie was saying and stuff. I really wish people would just get off Cam. If that's the case, cut him today. I mean, you got to give this man a chance. He's got to have, and don't compare him to no freaking Blaine Gabbert, Will Levis. Get off that, man. That's yesteryear. Zach Mettenberg. We don't want to hear that Nashville. Get behind this quarterback. He will be okay. Leave him alone. Just let him play his game. He doesn't have to throw for 300 or 400 yards to be a good quarterback or whatnot. We like to see him do that. But I see the guy progress. I've watched Cam for 2 years. He's my guy. I'm going to ride with him. Not a Titans fan, but he's still my guy.
Thank you for the call, Mark. We appreciate it, man. I'm sorry. We do have a lot of phones to get to, but we appreciate you calling as always, Mark. Let's go to T-Mac in the borough. T-Mac, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Okay. I don't want anybody to get offended when I say this, but I think anyone who's trying to judge Cam Ward in his first season is either slow or like a certain level of intellect. Because think about this. If we look at Marcus Mariota the first game, he threw 4 touchdowns. Look at when it ended up happening to him. Will Levis threw 4 touchdowns. Look at him, right? He may said it earlier. He talked about Bryce Young, right? First year, he struggled. Now look at him. Look at, Peyton Manning. He went 3-13 his first year. He set a record for the most interceptions thrown by a rookie. anyone who you got to look at the situation. You got to look at the fact they have Brian Callahan. You got to look at the fact they don't have any receivers. If anyone expects anything, a stellar performance out of Cam Ward this season, it's got to be off in the head with a staff like the Titans have right now. And the first year is not an indicator of how his career is going to pan out, because you got to look at everybody else. You got to look at Peyton Manning. You got to look at Brett Favre when he was with the Falcons. You got to look at all of these different situations and know that the first year, most especially with the staff that they have, is not an indicator of what type of player. Now, if it's year 2, year 3, okay, then you can make an assessment. But you cannot make an assessment off of year 1. I need everybody who says the Cam Ward is a bust, please go watch some football and stop commenting on the first feeling that you get in your heart. And I'll hang up and I'll listen.
Thank you, T-Mac. Let's quickly go to Dylan on our phone line. Dylan, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. Yeah, I was just going to say, as far as, like, the progression goes, I think he is getting better. I agree with Willie. I think I would like to see Cam Ward approach, like, Ryan Tannehill numbers, because I loved Ryan Tannehill. But, Ryan Tannehill never really threw for over 300 yards a game. He was always in that sweet spot of, like, 150 to 200, and they did play action really well. But Ryan Tannehill's completion percentage was pretty high, and he made plays when he needs to. I think that Cam Ward needs to follow that a bit. He doesn't necessarily have to get the crazy yards, but I think he can run an offense kind of sort of like that. And of course he's got his scrambling ability. So that's just what I wanted to say. You can be efficient and you can be good and not have to throw for over 300 yards a game like Joe Burrow or heck, Joe Flacco, somebody like that. So that's all I was going to say, y'all.
Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you.
A lot of different opinions there, guys. We appreciate all of you calling. A lot of different opinions. Derek, quickly summarize everything you heard. Some staunch defenders of Cam Ward on those calls.
Listen, Trey made some good points, because eventually he's going to have to start, consistently, because he's made these throws that I don't know why people. We've seen the NFL throws, and we've seen them more than once, to make me think that, okay, he doesn't have a problem playing in this league. Does he need to be more consistent? Absolutely, he needs to be more consistent. But I'm looking at it, as far as what does he have around him? And not just players, but, Mark and our other callers after Trey said it, the coaching staff. He has a lame duck coaching staff outside of probably Bones. That's it. But he has a lame duck coaching staff that is trying to do the best that they can, and maybe it's working, maybe it's not, as far as small developments. But this young man, there are things that he needs to get better at, and there are things that he has shown me in the time that he's played that you surround him with some talent, then that's when the real evaluation should start.
615-737-1025. Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, will join us next. We will ask him about Cam Ward and some other things that happened in the game yesterday. A 37-24 loss to the 49ers. 615-737-1025. 94.9 The Fan is your home for Vanderbilt women's basketball. Tonight, the Commodores take on South Florida at Memorial Gym at 6:30 p.m. Pregame begins at 6:15. D-Mace, Van and Donick, 1025. The Game. Be listening after Teron Davenport because I will be giving away our first pair of Music City Bowl tickets. We are giving away one pair per show all week, and you have your first chance to win a pair of Music City Bowl tickets as soon as we are done talking to our next guest, Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, who is presented by Bart Durham Injury Law and fueled by Parman Energy. And TD, of course, we're going to talk to you about Cam Ward. But I want to start on a different subject. I saw this tweet from Seth Walder of ESPN.com that I found fascinating. He said, quote, wild stat for a 13-point loss. The Titans had a 70% success rate on designed runs against the 49ers yesterday. That's the highest designed run success rate in a game by any team all season. What has gotten into the running game over the past couple of weeks?
Well, listen, man, I appreciate that stat, but that's like that's too many algorithms or formulas for me, man.
Fair enough.
I'll just keep it 100 with you, man. And Tony Pollard, we talked to him today, and he said it, and it's something that I have been saying they needed to do for a couple weeks now, and it's dedicating themselves to the run game. You see, the run game is something that it takes patience, right? And these days, there's not a lot of patience. So when you get the 2-yard run, you get the 4-yard run, and then things start to sync up. Next thing you know, you got a 30-yard run. And then, if you got a Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley, it's a 70-yard run. So it's really just staying dedicated to it and keep hitting it. And offensive linemen, man, they'll tell you they want to do that all day because they want to be the ones going and generating the contact as far as catching it. So as all that happens over time, you start to see the running game really start to succeed. And that's what's happened the last couple of weeks.
Teron, I know that you are at every game, so you don't have the pleasure of watching the broadcast in real time. I know you go back and watch them, though. And I was saying at the beginning of the show, I don't know if it's every game, most games this season. There is at least one pass attempt that Cam Ward has where he misses the receiver, like the one to Van Jefferson yesterday, for example, or the one to Chimdike last week, for example. There's at least one throw in every game where the color commentator immediately says, man, that's a throw you've got to make. You watch Cam Ward so closely. I trust your opinion so much on these things. What would you say your level of concern, for lack of a better phrase, is about Cam Ward leaving so many big plays on the field?
Well, there isn't a concern to me. I think there's an awareness that you have to have, but he's a rookie, and not excusing it because you do have to make those shots, but that's something that will come in time. And I think overall, I mean, that was kind of my takeaway from the game yesterday was, is he leaving too many big plays on the field? That was in our write-up, and he is, but I think it's something that can be corrected and can be fixed. But right now, the guy there's so much going on as far as, the footwork and everything that he's, the multiple there's just too much going on for him. And it's going to take a bit before he could get right.
Now, Teron, how do you think Udo played? I think by just watching him at first glance, watching the game and them not totally fixing in on him, but because of how the run game went, particularly toward his side, and some of the pass blocking that he was able to do, how do you think he played in place of Moore?
Yeah, I think he was solid. I think he did what he needed to do, just as far as holding it down. And I mean, you do have to note that it wasn't exactly, the monsters of the Midway that were coming off the edge, but he still was able to hold his own. So yeah, I mean, I think he played solid. Cam Ward had time to throw, for the most part, and he wasn't really under a lot of duress. There were some times where he had to scramble, but the O-line overall, I think, was decent.
Now, the secondary, I mean, this group, man, they are probably down to their last man. What has Denard Wilson said about that secondary? Because honestly, we saw it yesterday. I think San Francisco could have passed for 400 or 500 yards if they wanted to. That's how depleted they were in the back end. What is the next step for the Titans as far as that? Are they going to bring more guys in, try to bring more guys in, bring guys up in the practice squad, or are those guys that got hurt yesterday expected to play this week?
The guys that got hurt yesterday, mostly the safeties, we'll see what happens. They're hamstring injuries, and you know how those things work. They're a little tricky, but I think when you look at, I don't know if they could they could go any deeper, man. Like they're really scraping the I don't want to say the bottom of the barrel because none of these guys are that to me. They're just like they've exhausted.
As far as their depth wise, they are going to like the bottom of the roster in regards to that.
Like they've exhausted options. I mean, next thing maybe see Michael Robinson out there a bit more, but Denard Wilson, I tip my cap to him because I would have blown a gasket. All these options continue to be taken away by injury or trade, and stuff just gets worse and worse. And I don't know, man. It's a tough call.
Teron Davenport is with us. Teron, another nice set of numbers for Gunnar Helm. I think we've talked about it more than once. The efficiency for him when they throw to him, he seems to good things seem to happen. 4 targets, 4 receptions yesterday, and he gets the big touchdown.
Mm-hmm. He's a consistent player, and we talk about the passing of Cam Ward. Well, look, that throw that he made to Gunnar Helm, and D-Mays, you could appreciate this. That throw took him away from contact, right? And this set him up to be able to dive into the end zone for that. So, there's a chemistry that's going on between Gunnar Helm and Cam Ward that you love to see. And if I'm not mistaken, he broke the rookie record for receptions by a tight end for the Titans. So that's something else to take note of.
How do you think he's progressing as a blocker?
He's coming along well, and I go over there and watch Luke Stocker get those guys on the sled and work with them and use the bags and things, and you're seeing progress there. I think that's a really good thing. And obviously at Texas, it wasn't something he did a whole lot, but he's capable of it, and you're seeing it. So, yes, he's coming along well.
I haven't looked ahead at Tony Pollard's contract situation for next year, but, he's got a couple nice games here. You know what you get with him. I'm really curious what is the plan for Tony Pollard next year? Do you think he's in their plans, or do you think they're looking to go in a different direction?
Honestly, so before these last couple of weeks, I was more or less convinced that he was going to be gone. And you look at it, 28 years old, he's going to be 29 when next season starts. And you look at the contract, I mean, they could save some money, but this isn't a team that exactly needs to save money. I think it really depends on, that veteran, or not veteran, but who the coach is. You know what I mean? Because, he's on there next year. I think it's like actually looking at the number here, his cap hit is $9.2 million. So it's likely he's going. The dead cap is only $2 million. So I would look at that. I don't know that they put that much into Tony Pollard, actually, looking at the contract.
Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, has been our guest on D-Mays, Ving, and Adonik. He joins us every Monday during football season, and he is presented by Bart Durham Injury Law and fueled by Parman Energy. TD, great stuff as always, my friend. We'll catch up next week.
All right. Appreciate you guys, man. Take it easy.
You as well. I want to get to a couple of texts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 2 opposing views. Matt says, I'm not in either camp that says Ward is or isn't the guy. I am, however, in the camp that says we've seen his ability is there, so let's bring in the coaching and supporting cast around him to give him his best chance. Meanwhile, Jared from Spring Hill says, us fans were sold on the idea Ward can do no wrong. Callahan is a quarterback guru, and Chad Brinker and company assembled the best roster to support him. If they didn't think the roster was great, should have taken the trade with the Giants and built up a proper team, but he's got to carry, and he can't carry.
I mean, listen, there's nothing. I don't think the Titans, promise that, he would be the end all be all. I don't think I heard that. They were explaining why they drafted him because they felt he could be that guy. But they understand. I mean, there's a maturing that needs to take place, and there's a development that needs to take place. Just because I say he's the guy doesn't mean that there's no development and there's no maturity that's going to take place. We all understand that, whether they would have drafted him first overall, 10th overall. We knew that he was going to be the starting quarterback, and we knew that they were going to hitch their wagon to him. But the organization knew that it was going to take a while. It was going to take a minute before they got rolling. I think it's been worse than what they thought it was going to be. I really do. You got injuries everywhere. And even when the guys weren't injured, the guys that you expected to play well wasn't playing well. And we talked about that at the beginning of the season. When you have a young quarterback, those guys that are tasked to play well, those veteran guys, they must play well. And what did we say at the beginning? They were not playing well at all. None of them. So, again, whether you're with Cam or not, yes, he does need to develop. But also, it's not just about, Cam developing, because he can develop and you still can be a bad team because you don't have talent around him.
Quickly, let's go to Dustin in Hopkinsville on our phone line. Dustin, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, guys. Hey, I'm in the camp of the middle, but it drives me nuts when people go either way, like hard in the paint, man. Somebody mentioned Ryan Tannehill. Buddy, we drafted him at number 1. I don't want Ryan Tannehill numbers. I want a number 1 quarterback like Mahomes at number 1. Or, like you said, you should have took the 6 picks and traded back. But here's where we are. I like Cam Ward. I love his leadership. I got my son sitting next to me in the truck right now asleep. If he grows up to be a man like Cam Ward, hell to the yes. Okay? But on the same sense, the dude has some accuracy issues. He was dancing in the pocket a lot. The line's getting better. However, to throw under 200 most of your games without a good running game behind you, like, it's a double-edged sword. Like, and Shadur Sanders, if you watched the game yesterday, he struggled in the first half, but he come out and he tried. And I really like what that dude does. If you've seen that throw to the end zone, the receiver caught it, and the corner just ripped it out of his hands. What can a quarterback do about that? Like, they both deserve the respect. They're both young. One thing about Shadur, the dude's only played, 3-4 games now. He ain't been with the first team reps. Man, I'm for Cam. I want this dude to succeed. If anybody doesn't, they're lacking on the intelligence. But to sit here and say either way, I feel like it's silly. You do have to give him about half of next season, and then about mid-season, you're going to know what you got.
Thank you for the call, Dustin.
Because I remember this too. And everybody was screaming 20 games, give him 20 games. And we're talking about Will Levis. And then after 20 games, everybody was like, man, yeah, he's not quite the guy. So give that same energy to Cam. Give him 20 games. Hell, give him 25. Give him a year and a half and then see if he's making that jump that he needs to make. Because after one season, it's not going to tell the whole story. He's developing, I think, in ways that people are not understanding because they don't see the numbers that back it up.
615-737-1025. We will get back into Cam Ward and the Titans. So if you have thoughts on him and the team, get him in 615-737-1025. But coming up next, let's talk about Diego Pavia. Diego takes Manhattan. And yeah.
He took it.
Oh, he took it. We'll talk about the Heisman Trophy vote, but we'll also talk about the extracurriculars, I guess you could say. 615-737-1025. But I said I have Music City Bowl tickets, and here you go. Be caller number four at 615-737-1025, and you will win a pair of tickets to see the Music City Bowl, Tennessee versus Illinois at Nissan Stadium on Tuesday, December 30th. Caller number 4 right now, 615-737-1025. We are presented by Bax Homeworks. Remodeling done right. Get a free estimate now at baxhomeworks.com.
All right, let's talk Loan Pronto. They want to pound that message in. The best financial move you can make this time of the year is lowering your mortgage rate to 4.99% fixed APR, the lowest rate in years. You can get up to $500,000 out of your home's equity in the process. So call Loan Pronto and inquire about these things. Even if you don't need cash out of your home's equity, that's an option for you. But just to get the lower rate, if you got stuck with a higher rate, that's going to save you hundreds of dollars a month. Hundreds. And if you do need your home's equity, that's yours to use. You could pay off those high interest credit cards with that money. Skipped up to 2 house payments in the process. So there's no hard credit pull. You probably won't even need an appraisal. It's a fast, easy way to explore getting to a better financial situation. So act now and call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Start that new year by wiping out all higher interest debt and lowering your bills by thousands. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, APR for well-qualified buyers. Visit NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. Congratulations to Randy, who won a pair of tickets to the Music City Bowl, Tennessee versus Illinois at Nissan Stadium on December 30th. If you missed out, you'll have another chance tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. We have a pair of tickets to give away each day. So congratulations to Randy. We'll do this again tomorrow. So I've already made an outdated reference today by starting the show talking about the facts of life. I bet the two of you love the Muppets Take Manhattan in 1984, right?
Yep.
Willie, you a fan of Muppets Take Manhattan?
I watched it. I
No.
was 10 years old.
I'm a huge fan of the Muppets show. Grew up with that.
You didn't like
love the
Muppets?
Muppet movie?
You didn't like Muppets in Manhattan?
I don't know. It's just sequels. It's just not. It's not as good. The original Muppet movie, outstanding.
Willie,
I'd recommend it to
Willie.
anybody.
Come on, everybody got to go to Manhattan.
Well, that is true.
Even the Muppets.
The Muppets did take Manhattan in 1984.
Mhm.
That was rated G.
Yes.
Diego Pavia took Manhattan over the weekend. That was not rated G. It was probably PG-13, I would say.
I'll give it that.
Yeah, and we'll talk about what Diego Pavia said that required him to apologize in just a few moments. But let's talk about the actual voting for the Heisman Trophy. Diego Pavia finished in second place in voting for the Heisman Trophy. We all thought it was going to be close. It wasn't close. Fernando Mendoza, 643 first place votes to Diego Pavia's 189. Mendoza finished with 2,362 points. Pavia in second with 1,435. So it was really never in doubt for Fernando Mendoza, the starting quarterback for the number one seeded Indiana Hoosiers in the college football playoff. So I've spent the past couple of days, guys, looking at people's ballots because unlike the NHL awards, for instance, which I vote on, Willie does as well, we believe in transparency. Once the awards have been presented, all of our votes are available, whether you want them to be or not. With the Heisman Trophy, if the respective voters want to unveil their ballots, they can. And I was looking at everybody's ballots, and I landed on a podcast by Chris Vanini and David Ubben, both of The Athletic, called Bunch Formation. And they talked about their voting process. And I thought, Willie and Derek, that their voting process made sense with what we had discussed. David Ubben voted Diego Pavia first on his Heisman Trophy ballot. And his reasons were the ones that we've been talking about for weeks. Just how important Diego Pavia is to Vanderbilt, how he had his hands in everything, the numbers. He was the engine that drove the team, and Vanderbilt had its best season ever. So that makes sense. Vanini, who had Pavia second on his ballot, said Pavia in the biggest games of the season, the games that most people probably watched, had his two most underwhelming performances at Alabama and at Texas. Meanwhile, Fernando Mendoza won at Oregon and he beat Ohio State in the Big Ten title game. I think those are perfectly valid reasons for voting for voting Fernando Mendoza number one overall. But Willie, I know that you were holding out hope for Diego Pavia. Your thoughts on the gap between Mendoza and Pavia and Heisman Trophy voting?
Yeah, it did surprise me. I didn't go through all of them. You probably went over more than I did, Adam, but I thought it was astonishing how many people and people that I follow nationally who cover the game that I know aren't the profile that I thought would cost Diego, and that's more of the fringe writers that don't really dive in deeply across the country every week, but people that cover the game for big networks had him off of the ballot. I was stunned at that. I really was.
By the way,
Yeah,
Pavia appeared on 75.8% of ballots, which means
I thought that number would be 90%.
Fernando Mendoza appeared on 95.2% of ballots. So Pavia was left off of roughly 200 Heisman Trophy ballots. That means that there were 200-ish voters who did not have Diego Pavia in their top 3.
I don't understand it. I really don't. It was, even though I picked the over last week,
You
as
did.
far as voters and the discrepancy between the first and the second voter place guy, I didn't think it was going to be like that. That was just, why did you even have him here? Have him there. That's how. So you said Mendoza's season was so great and so superior to not even Diego, the next guy. Let's just say, who was third? Love?
Yes.
His season was so superior than Love and Diego that you left people off the ballot.
Pavia, by the way, had basically double the amount of points
In a
of
tougher,
Jeremiah Love.
in a Diego, to me, because the numbers bear it, he played better in a tougher division.
Yes.
The numbers were there. Again, I thought it was going to be a close race. But once I looked at it, I'm like, did anybody watch him? Like, or were they did they already have their mind made up? And they didn't need to see anything else.
Well,
that
you
they
said-
were not going to vote for Diego.
Was there maybe an SEC backlash? That came up as a theory last week.
Yes.
I did think about that. And it just, maybe there was a little bit of, I don't like his style. It's really hard for me to say, but I have to admit, I was blown away. In fact, I think if I saw this right, Adam, he did not carry the Southeast.
That is correct.
Right?
I am looking
He
for
was
those
beaten
numbers
out by
right now.
Mendoza in the Southeast. And so
Wow.
I cannot explain that.
So I have those numbers in front of me. Remember, there are 6 geographic voting blocks for the Heisman Trophy: the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic, the South, the Southwest, the Midwest, and the Far West. Mendoza carried all of them. He had 396 points in the South compared to Pavia's 321.
So it's closer, but still a win for Mendoza in SEC territory. So that also has me wondering, was there some from the voters, it's not my style, I'll take I don't know. Look, Mendoza winning it is totally justified, completely justified. Nobody would argue that he deserved to win the award. He was worthy, but I question why you would not have Pavia on the ballot when it was so clear his numbers were superior and the story is phenomenal. Now, I realize Indiana's story is incredible, right? They were on 60 Minutes for a reason last night. They just don't put anybody on 60 Minutes. It's remarkable what Indiana has done. But I think Pavia absolutely should have been a closer second, and it's not like he finished 5th, right? He got in there, he got second. But it's just odd how these things go.
But it was just the distance between the two. That's what was surprising to me. Again, I think Mendoza deserved to win it. You're the quarterback of the number 1 team in the country, and you just came off of a game where you beat the number 1 team in the country, and you are the best player on your team, or if not, you are the best player on your team, frankly. And Diego is as well. But I mean, I'm not sitting here and arguing or saying Mendoza shouldn't have won it. I'm just looking at it like, man, was it that big of a gap between those two that people saw on the field?
So prior to this season, there were 4 SEC quarterbacks with 3,000 pass yards and 800 rush yards in a season. Tim Tebow in 2007, Johnny Manziel in 2012, Dak Prescott in 2014, and Jaden Daniels in 2023. 3 of those 4 won the Heisman Trophy. Tebow won it, Manziel won it, and Daniels won it. So Pavia didn't win it with those numbers, and Dak Prescott didn't win it with those numbers either.
But Pavia, I think if you watched him this season, he was the best player because of his ability to not only throw the football, and he proved he had improved. He proved to us he had improved as a player in that regards, just throwing the football, but he became a stronger and more vicious runner as well as a quarterback. So he was that dual threat quarterback that everybody's looking for, and he did it at a high level. And in any other year, those numbers probably would have won you outside of the Jaden Daniels and the Burrows and Caleb Williams. Those guys just lit it up in the passing game. But typically when you have a guy that's dual threat, he's playing for a winning team, and he's been in a Heisman hunt. Not to say that he's always going to win it, but the numbers seem to be, it would be close, especially the guy that won it. His numbers wasn't even near yours. If you put them all together, I just thought it would be closer than what it was. That's all.
It's like there are given years, right, where a guy has, in other sports too, a guy has an unbelievable year, but doesn't win the MVP. Like, how many times did a Michael Jordan or, you know,
hell, Lamar Jackson last year.
Yeah, sometimes you could vote for the same guy every year, but the other guy has a great year and they give it to him. You know, you could have a great year and finish second. I think it's the unlucky part of Vanderbilt's fantasy season, right? This was a fairy tale season in a lot of ways, but they picked the wrong year to go 10-2, and they don't make the playoff. And Diego Pavia had Heisman-worthy numbers, and he finishes second in the Heisman. So it's just a bummer, just because of how it fell.
Matthew in Nashville, and this is a great segue to our next segment. Matthew in Nashville said, Pavia's mouth and his family antics are what cost him the trophy. And we will discuss what Diego Pavia did and what required him to apologize coming up next, because Derek has some words of advice for Diego Pavia. A former Heisman Trophy winner had some advice for Diego Pavia earlier today. 615-737-1025. Your thoughts on the voting for the Heisman Trophy. Fernando Mendoza of Indiana wins the Heisman Trophy with 2,362 total points. Pavia finishes in second with 1,435. 643 first place votes for Mendoza, 189 for Pavia. 615-737-1025. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service.
but it feels like he wants to be Johnny Manziel. I hope he doesn't want to be like Johnny Manziel. Great story, what he did, Vandy, the past 2 years. You put them into the playoff contention, Heisman vote, just all the goodwill you undid with a couple of social media. And you know, you're with your buds, and all of a sudden you put something out there, and, you know, you do away with a lot of the goodwill that you built up this year.
That was Dan Patrick commenting on what Diego Pavia did after the Heisman Trophy presentation. Derek Mason, Adam Vinkin, Willie Donick is in St. Louis. He is off to prepare for the broadcast tonight. Predators at Blues, 7 o'clock, puck drop, 6 o'clock pregame right here on 102.5. The game. So in case you missed it, Diego Pavia took Manhattan after losing the Heisman Trophy, finishing in second place to Fernando Mendoza. And a social media post made the rounds on Saturday night. It was Diego Pavia posting an Instagram story with, I believe, a few of his teammates with the caption, F all the voters. That was part of it. F all the voters, including you, Joe Rexroad, who actually voted Diego Pavia number 1 on your ballot. Just kidding. We love you, Rexroad. But Diego Pavia said, F all the voters. And that did not sit well with a lot of people. It did compel, or somebody compelled, Diego Pavia to apologize. And I will read some of that apology now. Quote, being a part of the Heisman Trophy ceremony last night as a finalist was such an honor. As a competitor, just like in everything I do, I wanted to win. To be so close to my dream and come up short was painful. I didn't handle those emotions well at all and did not represent myself the way I wanted to. I have much love and respect for the Heisman voters and the selection process, and I apologize for being disrespectful. It was a mistake, and I am sorry, end quote. He went on to say that Fernando Mendoza is an elite competitor and a deserving winner of the award. Talked about how he's been doubted his whole life, and he looks forward to competing in front of his family and with his team one more time in the ReliaQuest Bowl in a couple of weeks against Iowa and Tampa. But Diego Pavia apologized for saying, F all the voters, except for you, Rexroad. You're not in that group because you did vote him first overall. But as I was watching ESPN this morning on First Take, Cam Newton himself, a Heisman Trophy winner, right, Derek?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He had a few things to say about what Diego Pavia posted on social media. He had some advice for Diego Pavia. Here was Heisman Trophy winner Cam Newton on First Take.
Diego, bro, that was classless. That was senseless. And to be in the position that you're in, bro, going to the next level, having aspirations to go into the NFL draft, to not think that this will be brought up in this type of situation is terrible. I don't even blame Diego. I blame the supporting cat. I blame the brother. I blame the homeboy. I blame the dad. I blame the mom. I blame the girlfriend. I blame who thought it was a good idea, not only for him to post that, but also to post when you was in a club. Like, you got so many guys around you that's living in the moment, and nobody thought to say, like, hey, bro, nah, that ain't a good look. Yeah, we lost, but we gonna lose in grace. I mean, we can talk amongst ourselves. Everything is not supposed to be publicized or posted. And those type of issues is what the younger generation needs to understand. It's like, bro, you don't get no cool points for saying that.
That was Cam Newton on First Take. Now, Derek,
Yes.
we talked about this before the show. You have some advice.
Yeah.
As a former athlete, as a father, you have some advice for Diego Pavia.
Yeah, because, listen, tremendous talent on the field, hell of a player. I love the dog in him. I love the attitude when he's out there on the field. You know, he wasn't given anything. He went and earned it. I love that about Diego Pavia. And, you know, that what happened this past weekend isn't going to change that. And that's where I put my sort of dad hat on. Because I would tell him the same thing I would tell my son and have told my son. Listen, I understand the front of that jersey means a lot, meaning the institution that you're in, Vanderbilt. But the back of that jersey means even more. That name on the back of that jersey outlasts any institution that you can go to. And I'm not talking like the building. I'm saying that name. That goes further than any institution. That name will continue to grow and continue to go. Don't you do anything that's going to diminish that name on the back of your jersey. Don't do anything that's going to embarrass. I know being a kid and he's not even a kid. I know being a young person, you know, sometimes things happen. But in the space that you're in this space that many want to be in, but only a few are. You're in a space where, like, everybody's not up for a Heisman Trophy. You know, everybody face ain't plastered on networks across, the U.S. It's yours. It's your face. It's your ability to go out there and play this game. That has put a light on you so bright and so beautiful that you can't be doing things like that to diminish it. The last name on that jersey means more than what's on the front. Don't disrespect the front of that jersey. Don't disrespect the Vandy's, the institution, that team. And that's what I'm talking. I'm talking about that program. Don't disrespect that program. This ain't even about the universe. That program, those men and women that sweated with you, that took care of you when you were hurt, put you back together, made sure you were out there every week. Don't disrespect them. But more importantly, don't disrespect that name on the back of your jersey. Because now it makes it seem like that's how I raised you. And I know I didn't raise you that way. You didn't, the house that you came out of, we don't do this. This is not what we do. We lose with grace. We win with grace, but we lose with grace as well. We don't do this. We don't bring a dark light into a sort of dark cloud into our path. We don't do that. We can't stop other people from trying to do that. But one thing I am not going to do, that I will preach to my son to the day I'm here no longer. That name, that last name of yours, do not do anything that is going to diminish the light which you have on yourself. I tell that to my son. I tell that to my daughter. Well, I ain't got to worry about doing my daughter. She's perfect. But I would tell Diego the same thing. Like, I would love to have him on my team. If I was starting the football, he would be one guy. All right, I can win with that guy. I know what he's about. He's going to make sure my team brings it every day, every weekend. That's the guy. I want Diego. But that other stuff, now it gives people a reason to say, yup, that's why you ain't win the Heisman. Look at what you doing. You're a sore loser. And that's not the guy that I've seen the last 2 years. That guy that posted that isn't the guy that we've seen over the last 2 years. But you're giving people more fuel to put on a fire that they started themselves.
I can't guarantee that there weren't voters who didn't leave Pavia off their ballots because of his behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Nearly 1,000 people had the opportunity to vote for the Heisman Trophy. So I can't sit here and say his behavior didn't matter. It was all about what happened on the field. There could have been a couple of voters who, as they sat down with their ballots and thought about Diego Pavia versus Fernando Mendoza versus Jeremiah Love versus Julian Sayin, so on and so forth. There could have been a couple of voters who said, man, Diego Pavia, he's a great player, but I do not like the way that he comports himself in public. I'm going to leave him off my ballot. I cannot guarantee you that didn't happen at least once, if not a couple of times. But I do think there's been a hell of a whole lot of pearl clutching going on these past couple of days. Oh, Diego Pavia, he said, F all the voters. What a terrible influence he is, so on and so forth. Here's another thing that I can guarantee, Derek Mason. If you liked Diego Pavia before Saturday evening, you still like Diego Pavia now. I can guarantee you there is no one, unless you call me or text me right now and tell me I'm wrong, I can guarantee you there is no one who liked Diego Pavia on Saturday night, who then saw his post and said, I regret everything I ever said about Diego Pavia. What a jerk. I can guarantee that. Close to guarantee that. At the same time, the people who dislike Diego Pavia now have more reasons to dislike Diego Pavia. He did it to himself. He shouldn't have done that. But I also think there's been a lot of exaggerated gasp. Diego Pavia, can you believe that? I mean, guys, if you've watched Diego Pavia over the past 2 seasons, especially this season, if you've watched Diego Pavia at SEC Media Days, on Bussin' with the Boys in the summer, all season long, he's spamming the Heisman Trophy pose like a taunt in a wrestling video game. He's doing it every chance he gets. This is who Diego Pavia is. Ultimately, and unfortunately, how he handled himself over the weekend is going to leave a lasting impression on a lot of people. There will be people. I don't know if Diego Pavia is going to get drafted, Derek, but there's going to be somebody. Let's say a team signs Diego Pavia right after the draft as an undrafted free agent. I can guarantee you there's going to be a fan of that team who says, I don't want him on my team. Did you see what he said after the Heisman Trophy presentation? But again, this is who Diego Pavia is. It's who he's been the whole time. It's who he was before he got to Nashville, and any of us had ever heard of Diego Pavia. So do I agree with how he handled himself on Saturday? No. He should have said what he said in the apology in the first place. I'm a competitor. It sucks to lose. Congratulations to Fernando Mendoza. And I'm going to go out there one more time with my teammates in a couple of weeks, and we are going to show out. That's what he should have done. But for all of the people, they're like, oh, Diego Pavia, I can't believe it. Like, save it, guys. Just save it. Let's go to Don on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Don, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, fellas, thanks for taking my call. I guess I'm older than you guys. I've got a little bit more of a old school, I guess, attitude toward this. Number one, my son wouldn't have gone to the Heisman ceremony without socks and a tie. I'll say that first of all. So I just again, that's the old school in me. But let's just say he gets invited to the combine. How many times is he going to hear, things mentioned about what he said? So, is he going to just sit there and take all this and try to respond the best he can? Or is he going to get frustrated with this, with the continuous questions about these posts? I mean, I don't know. That's a futuristic problem. But, I agree with you guys, doing the Heisman post throughout the season. And, it was just really a classless thing to do. And I hate it for him. Again, you got positives and you got negatives. So how much does the negative, pull down the positive, or even how does it weigh up against it? But, it's kind of like, what have you done for me lately? And I think the negative post and the language that he used, I think was really just classless. And I think what he's done is really going to stay with him, unfortunately, for a long time. And that's my opinion on that. So
thank you for the call, Don. We'll continue to take your thoughts on this. 615-737-1025. I just had to get that off my chest because, again, there's been just so much pearl clutching about what Diego Pavia said. And I don't agree with how he handled himself on Saturday. But I just think of it as a guy who made a mistake in the heat of the moment. This is who he's always been, rightly or wrongly. This is the guy who Vanderbilt fans fell in love with. But if you dislike Diego Pavia before, you were going to use this as another reason to dislike Diego Pavia. As I said, I am certain. Tell me if I'm wrong. You call or text right now, 615-737-1025. Maybe it was done just now on the phone. But I have a hard time imagining that there's anyone who went into Saturday liking Diego Pavia, who no longer likes Diego Pavia because of what he did on Saturday. 615-737-1025. You know, you signed up for it. 615-737-1025. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. D-Mace, Bingen, and Donick, 1025. The Game. Derek Mason, Adam Bingen. This is last Friday night, but it was last Saturday night that Diego Pavia finished in second place in the Heisman Trophy balloting, then put out an Instagram story that said, F all the voters, and caused a stir. By the way, Candace Lee, Vanderbilt athletic director, did give a statement on that Instagram post to the Tennessean. It reads, quote, Diego knows his actions were unacceptable and he has apologized. I know he is contrite and regrets the hurt he caused. He is a passionate and authentic competitor, and while his authenticity has been nurtured and celebrated here, it does not change the responsibility that comes with representing Vanderbilt University. We believe in growth and accountability, and we will continue to support Diego as he learns from this moment. End quote. One texter, by the way, I do want to point this out because I did make a mistake as I was speaking. One texter says, I like Pavia as a football player. I like that Vanderbilt has a guy like that. I hate the way he responded. Also, you can't say he made a mistake in the heat of the moment and also say this is who he is. You are correct. He meant to do that.
Yes.
You're right. He meant to do that. He shouldn't have done it, but he meant to do it. But then again, I think my point remains the same, that if you have been following Vanderbilt football all season long, this has been the dominant storyline, Diego Pavia, and how he helped Vanderbilt ascend to unprecedented heights, the greatest season in program history. Just missed the college football playoff, but still 10-2. Vanderbilt had never won 10 games in the season. And you saw Pavia lay the groundwork last season, and you saw the fruits of that labor this season. It did not end the way the Commodores would have hoped, but if you have been watching Diego Pavia for the past couple of years, this is exactly what you're getting with Pavia. Let's go to Trevor in Nashville on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Trevor, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Pavia tweeting, that's the most predictable thing. Like, I almost expected him to write something like that. And not to bring politics into it, but love him or hate him, it's the same thing with Trump tweeting about Rob Reiner. Like, it's predictable. Like, almost, like when I saw the news, I was like, oh, sure, Donald will have something to say about that. So I expected Pavia to say something like that. Did he look like a jackass? Maybe, pardon my language. But that's what he's been. He's not going to change. And teams, NFL teams, if they're interested, if they want to, like, if that's what they're grading him on, I mean, that's what he's done all year. He's talked smack. He's had an attitude, and you either love it or you hate it. So nothing surprising to me.
Thank you, Trevor. Let's go to Dave on our phone line. Dave, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks a lot. Great last call. It's kind of repeat some thought I had about the comparison with politics and football. Pavia should have won the Heisman. I would hope they would look at the football player and not just the quarterback position. So I see the disappointment. I too don't approve of his behavior, like I don't approve of politicians' comments. But to your point, Adam, I hate to bring this up, but you hear some UT fans all, anti-Pavia now. They're saying, here you go, all this. Well, a few years ago, when their baseball coach was creating this thug culture, that was okay as long as they were winning. And but now, boy, when Pavia does something out of line, they're all over it.
Thank you for the call, Dave. Of course, Dave referring to Tony Vitello, and I get it. But let's read Ben in Cumberland City's text and react. Ben says Diego Pavia has made the whole season about him. An institution of education renowned around the world was lowered this season in its best season ever. You think these old heads like seeing the sideshow crap? I think the family drama hurt Vandy in the college football playoff rankings and the Heisman Trophy voting. I do believe they hold his me-first behavior against him and Vanderbilt. Let's be real. Shedeur Sanders caught more crap for less last year. Could you imagine if he had a brother arrested 3 times, a mom out here acting crazy? Let's take off the Nashville glasses and look at the contradiction. Here's one thing, Derek.
He has a point.
I understand the point on Shedeur Sanders.
He has a point.
Here's one thing that I don't know. Here's one thing that I don't hold against Diego Pavia. I don't hold the actions of his family against him. I know that his brother, I believe, was arrested twice for public intoxication over the course of the season. I hope I am remembering that correctly. Diego Pavia was on the field. Diego Pavia has nothing to do with the fact that his brother was arrested for public intoxication. I know that Diego Pavia's mom was a hot topic in more ways than one this season. But I don't blame Diego Pavia for how his mother wants to act. She's a grown woman. If she wants to act that way and Theo Vaughn wants to hit on his mom and take her out on a date and all that stuff, I put that to the side. I don't hold that against Diego Pavia. Again, I can't guarantee that people who had Heisman Trophy votes, I can't guarantee that none of them left him off their ballots because of his behavior. I can't, because I can't speak to the nearly 1,000 people who voted on the award. But maybe I'm wrong, Derek. You can criticize Diego Pavia for a lot of things. I am not going to criticize him for the actions of his family. We all have people in our families who are a little cuckoo, okay? We all do. And I know people who have people in their families who are cuckoo, as I'm sure all of you do. I don't think you hold it against your friends or other members of your family, your in-laws, if they're a little off their rocker. Like, I think that's an unfair thing to do, personally.
Yeah, listen, he can't. Here's the perception of the reality of it is that, yes, he shouldn't have to. It's sort of like, I shouldn't have to, suffer for the sins of in this instance, my brother or my mother. The Bible states it another way, but I shouldn't be affected by the sins of what my brother's doing or what my mom's may be doing. I don't think his mom's doing anything wrong. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, you can't control what those individuals are doing. And someone like me is not looking at them through, or looking at you through their, through a prism, through their prism. Like, I'm looking at them through you. I'm not doing that. They're attached to you. They're your family, but there is a separation too. Like, while your brother was getting arrested, you were not. So I can't say all of a sudden because he got arrested that, oh, Diego's just like that. No, he hasn't been. It's just, but that's like the perception of how it should happen. But the reality is this. You're going to go into every GM's room. They ain't going to want to deal with it. That's just the reality.
To the point about Shedeur Sanders.
Exactly.
How many stories did we hear?
Absolutely.
About, will Deion get involved? I get your point.
They're not going to want to deal with it. Even though it could be, hey, listen, your brother ain't got nothing to do with you. If he wants to go out and do those things and put himself in that position, that is his life. That's not Diego's life. What his mom, how she chooses to celebrate at games for him, that's his mom. That's not him. But the minute you go into those rooms, unfortunately, the reality is they make them a part of you. Because to them, they ain't going to want to have to deal with that. Because if you got to deal with it, they got to deal with it. You know why? Because it's taking away your focus from the field. That's how the NFL is looking at it. That's how GMs look at it. They're not looking at it like me, like, he's not, because they've seen too many stories. I've heard of too many stories just in the background that didn't even get out about family members and GMs and coaches having to manage that. Police having to come and make sure. That takes away from you as a player. Because why? Because you got to now worry about all that stuff. Because they're your family. So the reality is, Diego, these GMs, I don't know where he's going to get drafted, but these GMs are looking at that and say, I guarantee you there's one GM right now. I said, nope, I don't want to touch that. I don't even want to bring him in. Not because of him. And not even because of what he did after the Heisman stuff. I think GMs can kind of sift through that and say he was just upset. Yeah, I'm not going to say it's a mistake. He regret doing it. And that's all. Is there regret, remorse for doing what you did? Yes. But the other stuff, the brother, and I'm not going to even put the mom in it, but the brother, we ain't going to deal with that because the minute he goes to jail, now they're going to be calling you, hey, can you get – now that's taking away time from you to be studying. That's taking away your focus on the football field, on your team that drafted you or brought you in as a free agent. So there's one GM right now that says, you know what? I'm checking him off my list. I'm not drafting him, nor am I bringing him in for a as an undrafted free agent. I'm just not doing it. And that is the reality. That is the reality of the situation he's put himself in.
Keith says, I'm a Vols fan and have no problem with what Pavia did and said. He's a competitor, plus he was already irritated. Vanderbilt didn't get into the playoffs. Benjamin says, man, I thought he committed a crime with how some of the people reacted on your station today. LOL. I didn't hear everything, so I'm curious who the texter is referring to. But simply put, and I'm sort of working through this in real time. So perhaps I've contradicted myself a little bit, but here is what I am trying to say. This is who Diego Pavia is. He is a fiery competitor, a take no prisoners kind of guy. He's brash. He's outspoken. He rubs a lot of people the wrong way. He's been doing it since the moment he entered our consciousness, since we first heard about Vanderbilt bringing in a quarterback named Diego Pavia. This is who he has been. He shouldn't have done what he did. It wasn't an accident. To the texter's point, it was not an accident. It was a mistake. He shouldn't have done what he did, but it was not out of character for Diego Pavia. So I am not going to flog Diego Pavia for what he did. Now, Derek, your point is well taken. Your point is well taken. There are going to be NFL decision makers who, if Diego Pavia is available to draft or available to sign if he doesn't get drafted, there is going to be someone who says, I want nothing to do with that. I saw what he said after the Heisman Trophy presentation. I've seen his brothers have been arrested, or one of his brothers has been arrested a couple of times. The whole thing with his mom. There are going to be people who say, I don't want to deal with that. And Diego Pavia will have to live with those consequences. But ultimately, this is who he is. This is always who he has been. And I am not going to pile on for what he did. I think this text right here, Derek, is the perfect way to wrap up this conversation.
Okay.
Pavia is probably one hell of a teammate, but probably not the guy you go to for life advice.
Pretty much.
So. I think that is a succinct way to end this conversation. 615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on Diego Pavia losing the Heisman Trophy and his reaction to it, which generated a lot of headlines over the weekend. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll get back into the Titans and the Cam Ward conversation. We do this from time to time. We call it the Cam Ward vibe check. I want to know how you're feeling about Cam Ward with 3 games left in his rookie season after he added 170 passing yards and 2 touchdowns against the 49ers yesterday. 615-737-1025. We are presented by Bax Homeworks. Financing options are available to make your remodel easier than you think. With Bax Homeworks, get a free estimate now at baxhomeworks.com. D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you, Willie Donick, in St. Louis with the Nashville Predators, who take on the Blues. Pregame starts at the top of the hour at 6 o'clock. Puck drop at 7, as always, right here on 102.5 The Game. Willie will be back in studio with us tomorrow because the Predators are at home the rest of the week. So the Tennessee Titans lose again, 37-24 to the San Francisco 49ers. From Nick Suss of the Tennessean, quote, with the loss, the Titans' streak of failing to win consecutive games dating back to November 2022 continues. It has been 55 games, more than 3 full seasons, since the Titans have strung together back-to-back wins. So the Titans will look to win again on Sunday against the Patrick Mahomes-less Kansas City Chiefs, who have been eliminated from the playoffs. By the way,
how many times have we said that in the last 10 years? Never.
We haven't, because the Chiefs' 10-year streak of making the playoffs was the longest by any team across the NFL, NBA, NHL, and Major League Baseball.
I was a freshman in high or in college the last time.
It's been a long time. By the way, here's another interesting note. The NFL playoffs will not include Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, or Patrick Mahomes for the first time since 1998.
Man.
That was the last time, at least. That's how long it's been since none of those quarterbacks were in the playoffs since 1998. And we'll talk about the Chiefs, I'm sure, at some point, because they've got
their own issues.
They've got a lot of questions to answer as their dynasty run comes to an end. But let's get back to Cam Ward. So Cam Ward, 18 of 29 passing, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions yesterday. I believe it was the 8th time, if I remember correctly, the 8th time in 14 games this season that Cam Ward failed to reach 200 passing yards. But Derek, we spent a lot of time on Friday talking about Cam Ward's accuracy or lack thereof. And can it be fixed? Well, since the bye week, Cam Ward has completed 62.1% of his passes, which still isn't great, but that is up from 57.6% before the bye. Since the bye, he has 6 passing touchdowns to 1 interception. So he has shown some growth. But again, I said this to start the show, and I will say it again. If you are on one side of the fence, if you are on the side of the fence that Derek is on, which is you've seen some signs from Cam Ward, some flashes of brilliance. He's playing for a bad team with inexperienced pass catchers, with a suspect offensive line, with an interim head coach. How could he possibly succeed in that environment? He needs more time. If you're on that side of the fence, really nothing is going to change your opinion over the next 3 games. On the other hand, if you're on the other side of the fence, which is Cam sucks, bust, what a waste, nothing is going to change your mind. What I firmly believe, Derek, is one thing I think Cam Ward truly needs to get some people off his back. And I even acknowledge that it may not get enough people off of his back. One thing he desperately needs is that huge game. And I agree with what Willie said earlier. It's not all about the fantasy stats, the passing yards, the touchdowns, the scrambles, the rushing touchdowns, all of those things. It's not just about that, the box score stats, the counting stats. There are efficiency markers that are more important than whether he's throwing for 200 yards or 150 yards or 300 yards, whatever. But I think it would do Cam Ward some good if he could find a way to muster one of those games. I bring up the Shedeur Sanders game against the Titans last week. I understand the environment, the context, the defense Shedeur Sanders was playing, but think about the conversation around Shedeur Sanders all of last week. Now, he kind of ruined it with how he played yesterday, but all last week it was, look at Shedeur Sanders. Look at this huge game he had. the Browns should give him a chance, right?
Mhm.
Cam needs a game like that. I truly believe that. Do I think he's going to get it? Probably not. But I do think it would help. I think it would help for Cam Ward to have one of those games. But I do want to talk to you about something that we actually talked about last week. I think we should revisit it. The one thing, Derek, that you have consistently said about Cam Ward, his inaccuracy down the sideline, outside the numbers, is a glaring issue. And we saw it once again yesterday, late in the second half. The Titans are in San Francisco territory. He dials one up for Van Jefferson deep down the left sideline. If they connect, at the very least, they're at the 5-yard line. Maybe he gets in for a touchdown, but he misses him. And there were some other throws that were questionable. He had a pass in the third quarter, also intended for Jefferson, that should have been intercepted, but it wasn't. But then again, on the other side, he had a great throw, I thought, to Gunnar Helm for a touchdown. You heard TD break it down earlier, and Ben Solak of ESPN, I think, summarized it well. He said, quote, perfect ball from Ward. This is on the touchdown to Helm. Keeps his eyes to the field to hold the coverage for as long as possible, then hits the out and up on time and away from coverage, allowing Helm to protect himself from the hit and finish the play. That was a great play. He also had a play on a scramble in the fourth quarter. He evaded multiple defenders. He's running toward the right sideline. He throws a BB to Jim Dike, drops it. So, again, there you take the good, you take the bad, you take it all, and there you have the facts of life of Cam Ward's rookie season. But I want to ask you about a couple of these throws. Let's start with the one that everybody's pointing to. The Cam Ward misses a wide open receiver throw of the day, which was the one to Van Jefferson at the end of the second quarter. What did you see on that play, specifically from Cam reading that play, making the throw? I want your expert analysis on that play.
Well, it was a great route by Jefferson. So the slant, honestly, it would have been a touchdown if you put it up the field. Again, this is the problem for whatever reason he has throwing from, throwing to his left, deep balls. He needs to get better at that. Was he getting pressure? Yeah, but I still think he needs to make that throw. So those are things that he needs to work on. I didn't see anything other than him not having a good base in throwing that ball, not really settling in because you had the outside rusher coming. But then again, these are plays or throws that he's shown he can make when pressure's in his face. So it's not like, he hasn't made throws with pressure in his face before. But for whatever reason, when that happens to that left side, that's where he tends to be off the most. And this may be, this may be a problem that the right head coach or the right coordinator can get out of him, because this is what I saw from Marcus Mariota. And I said this years ago. I said, between the numbers and quick, Marcus was brilliant at that, because that's what he did at Oregon. He threw it in between the numbers, quick passes in between the numbers, receivers ran. But outside the numbers is where he struggled. And when he got in the NFL, he never really perfected that. He never, at least not with the Titans, he never perfected throwing outside. If you actually are throwing inside, he can do that. But he never perfected, for whatever reason, throwing to the outside. Maybe it was because of in college he didn't have to. I don't know what it was, but he never was able, at least while he was with the Titans, able to master those deep throws, those deep outs on the sideline, because he didn't have to throw much of them, many of them. I'm wondering if that's what Cam's problem is. And if that is indeed the problem, the next guy they bring in here, it's going to be critical for him to make sure this offseason that he works on that throw, that he works on those deep sideline throws, that he works on those deep out routes. He can hit the crosser routes. I've seen him hit those routes. I've seen him hit the routes on the outside to the right side. I've seen that. But for some reason, he has trouble throwing it to the left side outside the numbers. That's something he needs to work on. That's something that I'm sure the next head coach and offensive coordinator will break down every snap he's taken. And they will make sure that, and it could just be a, footwork thing, a base thing for him. Get your base set, get your footwork right, and then you can make that throw. That's why, to me, it's, okay, let's give him another year. These are all, we got to understand, he's working through all of this stuff as a rookie with not that much help around him. And again, it's no disrespect to DK and Alec and Gunner, because I think those guys are going to be players for this team. I think they're going to be critical in the growth of this Titans team. But they don't have those they don't have those playmakers that a rookie quarterback needs. They don't have that playmaking dynamic tight end. I love Chig. He needs to do a better job at blocking too. He's horrible. As much as I, dismiss blocking sometimes, because I feel blocking is a want to. I can't teach you. You got to want to. I'm not sure if Chig wants to at times. Hell of a pass catcher. He's shown that he's gotten better there, but you need to be a dual threat guy. You need to be like some of these guys, Delaney that came through here. You need to be like Delaney. They can both catch and block when he needs to. So when I'm looking at all this, I'm thinking the offseason is going to be critical. One, Cam's development, and two, who do they bring in to help develop him? Because if you don't take care of it now, he will never get it. Like Marcus, at least while he was with the Titans. I hadn't watched him that much outside of the Titans. But if you do not get a hold of it now and get the right guy, you're going to have the same issues that Marcus had.
One texter says, such a dumb argument. Cam needs to play well. No bleep, he needs to have a good game to prove he doesn't stink. Here's the point I am attempting to make.
Mm-hmm.
I think most people would agree that Cam Ward's best game this season was his performance against the Seattle Seahawks in Week 12. If you look at the fancy stats, that is clearly the best game he has had all season long. The efficiency stats, if you look at those stats, the Seahawks game is the best game he's had all season. Let me tell you what his traditional box score was for that game. 28 of 42 for 256 yards and a touchdown. That's my point. Cam looked good in that game. I was really impressed by a lot of the things that Cam Ward did against the Seattle Seahawks. Once again, a really good defense. But the problem is 28 of 42 for 256 yards and a touchdown doesn't impress anybody. Mm-hmm. That's my point, is he needs to have a game with the efficiency stats where he puts up big numbers that most people look at and go, wow, Cam Ward had a game like that. That's my point, is that Cam Ward has shown throughout the season that he can do some special things. He's incredibly inconsistent, but he has shown that he can do some special things. But it's hard to make the argument that he's doing those special things, one, when the team is losing, mm-hmm. and two, when he's not putting up gaudy numbers. That's my point.
Yeah, and listen, you look at that Seattle game, and the reason people ain't talking about it is because they lost. They lost in a sort of winning performance by Cam, but they still lost. If you look at the box scores, you would think, okay, those are good, but you still lost. So no one's talking about it. In Will Levis's 4-touchdown game, they won. They won. In Marcus's 4-touchdown game, they won. So Cam has had one of those games minus the touchdowns, but they lost. So people are looking at it and say, oh, yeah, he put up the numbers, but they lost. Let's move on. Can he put up those numbers and win a game? Well, he could if the team around him was a little bit better. If this team was winning football games despite Cam's numbers, people wouldn't care. People really wouldn't. Because I'm going to tell you, somebody else that didn't have great numbers that year we went to the Super Bowl, Steve, his numbers weren't great, but we were winning. We found ways to win. we were a complete team. Matt numbers weren't great. He did what he needed to do to win football games. But again, winning masks a lot of things, and winning hopefully helps you allow the player to develop inside of this sort of bubble, hidden in a sense, because he can play not good. And if you're winning, everybody's like, okay, we can give him time, keep running football, give him time here, come on. But when you're losing, nobody's giving you time. They're not. This season is bearing it for Cam, even though people understand and know that this roster isn't good.
Steve McNair in 1999 in the regular season started 11 games. He went 9-2. He had a completion percentage of 56.5%, 12 passing touchdowns, 8 interceptions.
Exact. That is what and that's what people, and the only reason I am so adamant and I am just like passionate about, because I've seen it happen.
And on top of that, he had 337 rushing yards and 8 rushing touchdowns.
I've seen it happen in front of my face. I was on the field watching all this. The only reason that it was masked is because we were winning. If Cam was winning, if the team was winning, they had a better team around him. If they were winning, people would dismiss the numbers. They would say he's a rookie at first round. I get it, but he's a rookie. They're still winning. They have time to bring the young man along. But when you ain't winning, your roster's bad. Now all of a sudden, oh, he's a bust. Even though y'all know this roster isn't good. Even though y'all know he doesn't have the necessary pass catchers that he needs. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that this kid is going to be, again, I'm not saying it's going to be all world. I'm saying put people around him, put more people around him, and then let's judge him based upon that. Can we all do that? I know it's hard to do, even with me sometimes, but can we all do that? Because last year, we were talking about give Will Levis this many games, and we gave him that many games. And in that many games, he showed us that he wasn't consistently the guy that he needed to be moving forward. So the Titans went and got another guy. So at least let's give him into next season before y'all dismiss him. I'm not saying don't, but at least give him until next season. See how he starts next season. See what they add around him. And then, like Carolina, we can then start the clock on Cam Ward.
615-737-1025. It's time for one of our patented Cam Ward vibe checks. How are you feeling about Cam Ward with 3 more games left in his rookie season? And you know what? Didn't I say, knock on wood, he was going to start every game?
Mm-hmm.
He's on pace to do that. We'll see if he finishes out the season starting all 17 games. 615-737-1025. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service.
what's crazy is every time we practice that play, Cam never threw me the ball. And so I'm like, you know, I'm hitting the flag. I expected him to come out there with me. The corner that was sitting out there, I knew he was probably going to come. But I'm like, when I saw Cam scrambling, I mean, everybody watched Cam throw balls. He probably throw the ball, which is dangerous, across his body more than any quarterback in the league. And I'm like, I'm going to go the opposite way. I know Cam can make that throw. And when I saw him release it, I'm like, oh, don't drop this ball. Whatever you do, like, you know, that's all I was going through my mind. Like, that was going through my mind. I'm like, do not drop this ball. And, you know, he made a hell of a throw across his body. And, I mean, that's Cam. Cam could do that, and it looked like effortless. And I was just happy to be able to catch that, and the excitement. Like I said, we've been practicing that play a couple weeks now, and, you know, hopefully they can keep me over there now. So
that was Jeffrey Simmons on his touchdown grab against the 49ers yesterday. Cam Ward, by the way, had a time to throw of 6.2 seconds on that play, the longest time to throw on a touchdown pass targeting a non-skill player in the next-gen stats era since at least 2016.
Man, they got stats.
They got numbers for everything, which is why I love numbers. But I hear what Jeffrey Simmons is saying there. The best plays from Cam Ward this season have been those improvisational plays, the scrambling plays. Remember his first touchdown against the Rams to Eligayamaner. That was an incredible play. I thought the play yesterday to Simmons was an awesome play, and I agree with what Simmons said there. Cam Ward makes that look effortless. What the Titans need to do is to make Cam look that good when he's within the structure. And that's been the issue. Like, I like the fact that Cam Ward can get out and evade multiple defenders and try to make plays. Again, one of the best plays he made yesterday was a drop by Chim Dike. So we know he can make those plays. I am encouraged. I heard Robbie Stanley say the same thing this morning. I am encouraged by Cam Ward's ability to scramble, but it's more about making sure that Cam Ward can be successful in structure. One texter says, I hear your point. His best games are way down statistically by his team and his schedule, but don't you think that's a bit of a reach to mask how bad he's been? His PFF grade is 39th of 41. Again, you know I love my numbers. I pay for PFF. I pay for NFL Pro Premium. I am not a tape grinder. I have access to the all 22 film. I don't know what I'm watching. That's why I rely on Derek. He knows what he's watching. I deal with the spreadsheets. Derek deals with the eye test. That's why this show works. And I know that the numbers are bad. No matter how you slice it, traditional numbers, fancy stats, whatever you want, it does not paint a beautiful picture of Cam Ward. He has been statistically one of, if not the worst, starting quarterback in the NFL this season. But again, it goes back to watching some of the plays he's able to make. The play to Jeffrey Simmons yesterday. That was a creative play. Cam Ward did the thing. Again, he held that ball for roughly 6 seconds and found Jeffrey Simmons in the end zone for a big man touchdown. Love a big man touchdown. So to me, it's about marrying the two. I am open-minded. I know that we live in a world where you have to have an opinion one way or the other. There is no gray area. Either you're on this side or you're on this side. And I am not one to rush to conclusions. Now, some of you will say, I wouldn't be rushing to a conclusion to say that Cam Ward is not the guy right now. But I am still gathering information. That does not mean, Derek, listeners, that does not mean that I don't ultimately think that Cam Ward is not going to pan out. I have not made up my mind. And you know what? That's okay. I don't have to have an opinion on everything right now. I am still gathering the information. The numbers don't look good. As Lenny says, numbers don't lie. To an extent, that is true. But let me tell you something, Lenny and others. As someone who works in analytics, you can make numbers say whatever you want. You can paint the picture of a player who is struggling by pointing out his strengths. right?
Mm-hmm.
You can manipulate data. You can use certain rates. You can do all of these things. And I'm telling you that as someone who works for an analytical company on the side, in addition to my role here on 102.5 The Game. So to an extent, numbers don't lie, but numbers can be massaged. Numbers can be presented in certain ways that can frame your point. So forgive me, Cam haters out there, if you're upset with me that I am at the point where if you ask me right now,
Mm-hmm.
do you think Cam Ward is going to pan out as the number 1 overall pick? You know what my answer is right now? I don't know. And that's okay. It's okay to say I don't know. People don't want to hear I don't know. It either has to be yes or no.
And listen, I get it. Numbers, and some people are looking at them and they tell a story. What is the old saying? Men lie, women lie. But I'm gonna change it a little bit. Men lie, women lie, but numbers don't tell the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. Because like Adam said, you can manipulate the numbers to get, or you can show or dive into it enough to show that there is a number that says he's doing well. You can pull out something within those numbers to say he's doing well.
Frankly, there aren't a lot of them. Let's just
and there are not a lot of them.
There
What I'm
aren't a
saying
lot
is
of
that
them.
you can massage it in a way. Well, the numbers say he did this in this game, he's getting better, or the numbers said he did this in that game, he's getting better. So the numbers don't tell the whole story. That's why, for me, I like to look at the game and as I'm looking at it, it's like, what am I looking for when it comes to Cam or the quarterback? And so I got things that I'm looking for and things that I'm hoping that he improves in. And he is improving in those things. Now, again, is it at a rate that, people are happy with? No, it's not, because the team's bad. But it's, how do they feel about him in that building? Do they feel as if he's progressing in a way that is going to be beneficial to his career moving forward? Knowing all of the sort of obstacles that he has to overcome. And when I mean obstacles, I mean the lack of top end talent on the roster, or the talent that you have is young and still developing. So they're developing right with him. So you're going to have games more times than not where it doesn't look the way you want it to look.
Lenny has chimed back in and
What did he
said, "My
say?
analytics say that he ass." And you know what? That's fine. If you are on that side of the Cam Ward argument,
Yeah, there's no change in him. There's no
right.
change in him. And I'm not.
And
it's like,
conversely,
okay.
conversely, if you're on the Cam Ward is going to be okay side, it's going to be hard to change your
Yeah,
mind
it's going to
too.
be hard to change
But
that.
like here's the thing. Again, as I said, as someone who works in analytics, as someone who makes a living in addition to doing this, working in analytics, it's not as simple as just looking at the numbers. You have to look at the environment. A player can have bad numbers because he's playing in a poor environment. Some players outperform significantly because they are playing in a good environment. There are players in all sports, whether you want to talk football, basketball, hockey, that there are players who outperform expectations. They have seasons that nobody predicted.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes it is the result of a good environment. You're playing with good players. Like, let's use a hockey example. If I'm trying to think of a recent Predators player who had a fabulous season out of nowhere. I can't think of one off the top of my head. It'll come to me. But anyway, when I'm looking at why a certain player is overperforming, one of the first things that I do, this is hockey,
Mm-hmm.
is I look at who his line mates are.
Okay.
So if Rocco Grimaldi, remember Rocco Grimaldi? If Rocco Grimaldi is having the best season of his life, and he did have some solid seasons for the Predators, what's the first thing that I do? I look at who his line mates were. Is he playing with the top players on the team? Is he playing with Philip Forsberg? Is he playing with Ryan Johansson at the time? Is he playing with Victor Arvidsson? If he's playing with top players, he's probably going to look better. This is my long-winded way of saying that I don't think you can dismiss the environment that Cam Ward is in. Now, you can certainly make the argument that the Titans should have known that Cam was going to be brought into this environment and that he wasn't going to succeed, and they shouldn't have drafted him. You can make that argument.
Yeah.
You absolutely can make that argument. My point is, I don't think it's telling the entire story to simply dismiss his environment. So, like, there was a texter. I've got to find them. Okay, here it is. One texter said, I am so tired of you guys talking about the roster around him. The roster around him has nothing to do with his tremendously inconsistent passing and his ability to miss a wide open Van Jefferson. There are probably 40 quarterbacks in the league, starters and backups, that would have won more than 2 games by now with the same team around them.
How many did they win last year?
I don't even remember.
2,
3.
So your point you did that the texter tried to make is mute. They did have other people in here last year, and they couldn't win last year.
So Sean on our text line talking about the environment. He says Daniel Jones with Indianapolis versus Russell Wilson in Denver.
Oh my!
Right. Well, like no, if I'm reading Sean's text correctly, Daniel Jones got off to a fabulous start with the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, of course. Look at the talent around him.
Bingo.
Hell of a talent.
Right. Now it's gone to pot since then, and Phillip Rivers had a fun experience yesterday.
I wanted him to win too.
Right. like another texter here mentions this as a hockey example. Zach Hyman in Edmonton. Zach Hyman is a winger for the Edmonton Oilers who, let's see, 2 seasons ago had 54 goals out of nowhere. His previous career high was 36. Do you know who Zach Hyman was playing with? Connor McDavid. Like that's why Zach Hyman had 54 goals, and he was playing on one of the best power plays in the history of the NHL. Zach Hyman's a good player. He's not a 54 goal scorer, but he's a 54 goal scorer because he's playing with the greatest player in the world every night, and then he gets the opportunity to play on a power play with one fewer player on the other team, whipping it around with McDavid and Draisaitl. That's my point. That's a good example, texter. That's my point.
That's like saying, like, for the texter that said his environment has nothing to do with, how he's playing. That to me, that in itself is completely wrong. I think environment, whether it be sports or non-sports, it does affect you as an individual if you're in those environments, or you as a community if you're in those environments. It's the same on the football field. Your environment does. Why do you think it's important for teams to make sure their locker room is right, to make sure they have the best locker room that they could possibly have? Because environment does dictate winning. It does. Rosters do dictate. I've never seen a bad roster win football games. Again, I'm going to repeat that. I've never seen a bad roster win football games. Never seen it. Show me a bad roster that won football games. There's not many, if any at all. This is a bad roster. So you can't. I hope that was the person trying to troll. I really do hope that's what someone was trying to do, because there's no way in anyone's mind that you can think that on a football field or a basketball court or ice hockey rink, or a baseball diamond, that if you have a bad team, that you are going to lead that bad team roster to anything. Michael Jordan, people, the greatest basketball, at least in my mind, second to Kobe, is in some people's mind the greatest basketball player ever to lace him up. I think it's Kobe. His first seasons, he wasn't winning. So, and then once they started adding people around him, Horace Grant, Scottie Pippen, people like that were veteran guys that knew how to win. You had a young guy in Scotty that was uber talented. Once you started putting people around him, then that real Michael, you were able to see that real Michael Jordan. But because he didn't have he had a bad team, you didn't see the full effects of Michael Jordan. This roster's bad. People, I'm gonna say this, and there's no disrespect to the Titans because they know they do not have the roster that they need in order to compete at a high level that they want to compete at. This roster isn't good, people. They have a few good players. They have some young guys that I think that can grow and mature and develop into good players. But at this point, the only guy that would even elicit the Titans is Jeffrey Simmons. That's the only guy. He played for the Titans. If you ask them, who does some of these other guys play for? Probably outside of Cam Ward. You wouldn't know. You just wouldn't. This roster isn't good. Okay? They don't have the necessary depth in top end talent to compete at this moment. I'm not saying anything that people don't see. I'm not saying anything that they don't understand over there in the Titans building. At this point, they do not have the talent to consistently win and compete. They got a hell of a player in Jeffrey Simmons. They got a good player in Pollard, tough runner. They got some good players on the offensive line. Peter and Levin. I think Zeitler's pretty good. Cushenberry needs to come on. They got a few of those guys. But for the most part, everybody knows in their mother and father that this team is devoid of talent.
615-737-1025. I will clarify my stance because I just want to make sure all of y'all understand what I'm saying. And I'll do that next. But we'll take your text as well. 615-737-1025. We'll wrap up the show next. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
building.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan. Predators pregame coming up at the top of the hour. Predators at Blues tonight. Puck drop at 7, as I just said. Pregame coming up next at 6 o'clock. Joey from Bellevue has saved my ass because I don't know why I pulled out Rocco Grimaldi. I mean, I loved covering Rocco Grimaldi, but Joey from Bellevue makes a perfect. He brings up the player I should have brought up. He says Gus Nyquist. Gus Nyquist is a perfect example of what I am talking about when it comes to environment. Gus Nyquist, in his first season with the Predators, had 75 points in his mid-30s. His previous career high was 60 points. So he outdid himself by 15 points. You know why Gus Nyquist had 75 points 2 years ago? Because he was playing with Philip Forsberg and Ryan O'Reilly. That's my point. Thank you, Joey, for saving my ass. That's my point. It's about environment. The Predators' power play, if I recall correctly, was quite good that season. And he was a part of it. And he was probably picking up a lot of points on the power play. I'm going to check that so that I don't make an ass of myself. Let's see here. They were middle of the pack on the power play. But that he gets, Joey, thank you. I think that's the perfect example of what I was trying to say. I don't know. Again, no disrespect to Rocco Grimaldi, who I think is playing in Russia right now. Anyway, before we go, I want to clarify my position on Cam Ward so that I cannot be taken out of context. Statistically, Ward is one of, if not the worst starting quarterback in the NFL this season. I cannot spin that, and I am not going to attempt to spin the numbers too much. They are what they are. But it also is, in my opinion, a bit disingenuous to say that his environment has had no influence on his play. Yes, he needs to work on missing open receivers. We can all agree on that. The throw to Jefferson yesterday, the throw to DK last week, there are plenty of others. He needs to work on that. Absolutely. But he is also hampered by inexperienced pass catchers. What more could Ward have done on that scramble play that Chim DK dropped? A more sure-handed, a more experienced wide receiver probably makes that catch. And we're adding that highlight to the, hey, these are the good Cam plays. We got one more good Cam play. So again, I think look, again, I want to emphasize this. Cam Ward has not played well this season. I do believe his environment has had an influence on it. Doesn't mean it's 95% responsible for it or 75% responsible for it. But to say that his environment has nothing to do with his overall play, in my opinion, is incorrect. That's all.
Yeah. And I think, Cam has to, and I believe he will get better. Now, where is that, where is that set? I don't know. But I do believe from what I've seen that he will get better. But also in that, I think the roster has to get better with him. If he gets better, but the roster doesn't get better, you're going to end up being in the same position you were in last year. This following season, you're going to be in that position next year. So this roster needs to get better, and Cam needs to continue to develop. You're not going to win in this league. The NFL is telling you, they've told you for many years, you're not going to win in this league if you don't have a good roster, if you don't have a good young roster, and more importantly, if you don't have that quarterback. And when you do have that quarterback, you better be able to surround him with talent. And the longer it takes you to surround him with talent, the worse things are going to be for you and your organization. So again, he has to get better, and I believe he will, but the roster around him needs to get better as well. He's not going to grow at the rate you need him to grow if things around him isn't getting better. If the things around him isn't growing, he's not going to grow. It's just it's a part of life. It's anything. If the things around you are not getting better, you're not going to get better. Or if you don't get better, the things around you are not going to get better. Cam's in a situation now where the roster's not going to get better until next year. So in real time, we're watching all of this. And some people are realizing it, and some people aren't. And some people are know it's happening, but just don't care. They just want to see him put up the numbers. And it's not going to happen when you have guys not playing at a level that they need to play consistently. And again, a lot of this has to do with youth on this team. The guys that they are going to depend on moving forward this year and next year are going to be a lot of young guys. They need to make sure they hire the right head coach who hires the right offensive coordinator, because we will talk about this tomorrow, but there are teams out there that did it the way we are talking about, adding things around the quarterback. And we will tell you how they end up or how they are doing this season. So the Titans need to take the same template, evaluate Cam this year, but putting talent around him, and talent not just on the field, but talent in the coaching room too. Put it around him and then start to assess him as a quarterback. Because right now, again, you're getting mixed messages here. And a lot of it isn't because of him.
We will continue the Ward conversation tomorrow, but we haven't touched on this. Jeffrey Simmons having his home burglarized.
Man, that is just like...
And this has been happening a lot.
Yes.
A lot of professional athletes have been targeted in these home invasions, I guess you could say, these burglaries. Fortunately, no one was home when I believe it was 6 people broke into Simmons's house. But just terrifying.
It is. And luckily he nor any of his family members were there. But even with that, it's like, how safe do I feel going back into my own home after 6 individuals violated and broke in? So that's something else that Jeffrey's going to have to deal with. So, man, I hope they put the necessary things around them, the NFL, as far as protection at his house, with his family, because it's and you said it right, it's happening more now than it ever has, at least that I've been aware of. And I think a lot of it is because of scheduling, the schedules, and everybody knows. So hopefully they catch whoever did it. Probably not. They probably won't, but I feel for Jeff, man. I feel for anybody that get their house violated like that, and things taken. It's unfortunate. It really is. And it's scary.
One texter says, both his advanced, meaning Wards, you both know his advanced and traditional stats say he stinks. Just say it's looking like the Titans made a big mistake not trading out of the pick.
How does it? He's not playing well, but the environment around him isn't doing him any justice either. That's all I'm saying. I'm not making a definitive answer either way on Cam Ward. I'm not.
Again, I don't live in a world. I try not to live in a world where everything has to be yes or no. I think it's okay to say I don't know, which again is not popular. But again, I think it's okay to say yes or no. I have been unimpressed by Cam Ward this season. I am not attempting to make excuses for Cam Ward. I am still sifting through it all. Okay. I am still trying to figure out how good he can be. Now, some of you are out on him, so that if Cam Ward flames out of the league, you can say, I told you so. But, I don't need to do that. Like, I don't feel the need to do that. But again, that's just me. And I'm proud of who I am. I've turned out okay. But that'll do it for us today. Predators pregame is coming up next. Predators versus Blues. 7 o'clock puck drop pregame in just a matter of moments on 102.5. The game the Predators going for, if my math is right, their 7th win in 10 games.
Go Preds.
Speaking of the Predators, Barry Trotz will join us at 5 o'clock tomorrow for his weekly conversation. Trevor Maddich will join us as well. Willie Donick will be back in the studio. The whole gang will be here starting tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
Be love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful Monday. I love you. The team loves you. The team loves you. You hear this music? You hear it. Don't you forget about us because we won't forget about you. See you tomorrow, 3 p.m. Peace.